Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone back to Tier 2 Talk. I'm ReTr00, of course, joined by Dweg, this time with the lads from Ecstatic, of course. Basically, to talk a lot of Counter-Strike as per usual. Probably a little bit of beef between the Ecstatic lads and Dweg. We'll probably talk about that a little bit later as to the public mockery on Twitter. But, gents, first and foremost, how are you doing?
I'm good. Excited to be here.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Nice.
I'm excited to see what people are gonna ask.
Yeah.
It's gonna start already, isn't
Yeah,
it, Ryan?
yeah. There could be some funky questions. Listen, there's no filter in the Twitch chat. They ask what they want.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
first things first, I think obviously we'll start with the Q&A. Josh, we'll ask a few questions, basically set the feelers out for you guys. There's a couple of questions we ask all our guests, just to get an idea of I guess Counter-Strike for you guys as well. And I think a good place to start would obviously be Josh. We can start with the big one, right? What's it like playing in such a competitive space? Tier 2, very, very packed full of talent. What's it like for you guys playing in such a competitive environment?
I can start.
Yeah, go for it.
I think nowadays it's like both a good and a bad thing because I have been in this environment for a long time now. I feel like never really broke through to the consistent tier 1 tournaments, and it's like really stressing, but also nice because you do have like a lot of tools to improve because most teams are still like full-time tiers, and you have a lot of matches, a lot of tournaments you can play nowadays, and a lot of teams you can match yourself against. And if you gain the edge versus those teams, it's pretty nice. But if you are like in the back of the teams who are trying to reach tier 1, it can be really like devastating to keep being like behind everyone else. So it's like I think it's pretty good and also bad in some other ways. If you are not like progressing well as a team or know how to do it.
Anything to add to that, Cabby? Or
Well, I'm just gonna say it like it is. For me, it's new. You know, I've never been in tier 2 before, or yeah, if you want to call it tier 2, I guess it is. But I've never been here, so it's new for me. The tournaments that we're playing, I haven't really played them that much. You know, of course, we have the Elisa and the tournaments like that I have played, but for example, I've never done so great in a major qualifier, and we have a lane sweet lane coming up next year, and that's I guess between a tier 1 and tier 2 tournament. So it's still new for me, but I would say the biggest difference is how hard you have to work on getting ready for the opponent you're meeting on the day. You know, there's a lot of, I wouldn't call it stress, but you have a lot to think about when you're gonna meet the teams that you're playing, instead of before, because before they wouldn't really change that much in the game plan. But I think the teams that we're meeting now are better at adjusting the game plan when they're meeting us. So I would say that's probably the hardest thing about tier 2.
what do you think the reaching that barrier is, maNkz? Because you kind of mentioned it, right? Like, there's a lot of teams that sit at the higher end of tier 2. They might get the odd tier 1 event here or there, but realistically, you had Gambit youngsters. Maybe you'd throw in Tropic in there, and in current form, maybe Movistar as well. There aren't many tier 2 teams in the last 4-5 years that have been able to make that jump. So what do you think it is that are like keeping so many teams from actually progressing to the next stage of tier 1?
Yeah, like I'm not exactly sure, but I think like a common like theme within teams reaching higher levels is usually consistency, in my opinion, of the rosters, because like you rarely see a new build roster perform consistently well within like tier 2 and then reaching tier 1. So for me, it's like consistency, and I do think that sometimes as a team you just find that like spark or cue or like something within the game that really like elevates you to the next level. Some player might just pop off completely. We've seen players like Neofrag. Also recently I have played with Fascia, who was in my opinion one of the best tier 2 players at that point. And I think sometimes some players just elevate the team because they find the key to success on the server, I think.
Okay. I wanted to ask about maybe the lineup coming together, and Cabbi, you could probably chime into this as well, because obviously we saw the core of maSonic move over here to Ecstatic. We know Bruiser, you played with him previously. Seems like a whole new reunion. How did it all come about? Like so many ex-players or players that you've played with sort of all shift over to a brand new organization.
I would say the reason it happened is probably because maNkz want to build a national roster again after being, and I just think it came naturally. We were the team under them in Denmark at least, and we were performing really well, the three of us. So I just think it was an easy step for them. And for Breezer, he was in Astrology's Talent. There's not many Orpos in Denmark that you could choose from. There's maybe him and Jensi or Regaldi, that's now in Flames, but I think that's only the three guys you could choose between.
Okay. Was that an easy decision, maNkz? Because I know we've always seen, I mean, Ryan, we could probably attest to this, seeing Lyngby Vikings and Ecstatic over the last couple of years, that even though there's been periods where it's been core Danish, it's been English speaking. So going right back to a full Danish lineup, was that an easy decision?
To some extent it was. Like Cabbi said, there was like we had us, me, Bird, and Dafu as a Danish core, and then we had the Copenhagen Flames, like pretty dominant in the tier 2 scene, kinda tier 2, 3, and then we had all the other teams, which tricked maSonic and some other teams. I'm not exactly sure who right now. But for me, I wanted, like, when everything happened to the old Ecstatic roster, I wanted like those guys from maSonic or International. So yeah, it was quite if I could get those guys and then a Danish Orber, Breezer, who's I think is the most clear talent right now in Denmark, then I would build this roster. So that's kind of how it happened.
Okay. One thing I'd like to add as well, Ryan, is that we know for the RMR, you're adding a coach on trial. I don't know how much information you can give about coaching positions and perhaps resources for boot camps and lead up to the RMR, but what's involved in that situation?
I can add to this in the beginning. Like for me, I have started a new role within the my career. I have previously been in-game leading, and I've always like added a lot to the in-game leading part. But now I'm again in-game leading, and for me it was very important to have a coach in these times up until the RMR because we have limited resources and time to be prepared for the RMR. So adding a coach was very crucial for me, and I think also for the team. So we decided to get the guy we thought was the right choice for now, and that is TML, and it's still very new. But the focus right now is just him helping us prepare for the RMR, and let's see what happens after that.
Yeah. Are you able to kind of give a little bit more outside or insight to him? Because I would imagine, and a lot of people don't know who he is. It says on his Twitter that he's a CS:GO teacher at one of the schools, right? Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So TML is basically, I don't know, like this. This is not like negatively intended, but he's kind of the budget version of your Barry, your Haste, those kind of guys. To some extent, Bird, but he's still like playing actively and on a high level. But he's one of those guys who's been teaching the school kids how to play the game, been picking up talents, that kind of guy, and he's also a little bit older now, so I would say like a budget version in a like not a negative way of those guys within the Danish scene.
Okay.
Just
Ryan, I know
Always
you
been
like
around.
a new Barry.
a
Yeah.
Newberry. All right.
Yeah.
We like the sound of that. Ryan, I know you like to talk about the warm-ups and things. You want to get involved here?
Yeah, so what's the question to you guys is what's the warm-up routine like ahead of a game? Whether that's obviously maybe a prac day or an official, does it change between the two, and what do you do basically to get in the element?
I would say it's just chilling and DM. We before prac, it's you still have to warm up a bit because then if you don't know warm up, you don't know if your strats are working or your defaults are working because you have to hit your shots in the end. But before official, we all sit together and warm up. If you want to aim bots, you can aim bots, or if you want to DM, you just hit the DM. But yeah, there's nothing specific. Just for me personally, I just go in, do 250 kills. Doesn't matter if it's USP, AK, M4. It's just to get the mouse feeling. It's not to, to get better or.
And yourself as well, maNkz?
Yeah, like you also asked like outside of the game,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
inside of the game it's mostly like what Cabbi says, like DMing and feeling ready, like mechanically. But I think what the teams I've been playing on have had focus a lot on the outside things too, being prepared mentally, and that's something we are still working on. But yeah, sleeping well, eating well, when do you eat, what do you eat, and those kind of things. Like what do you do if you have a late game on the day, like late night game? How do you plan your day and early day game and stuff like that? We also work a lot on.
Would you say that responsibility lies on yourself, or is it sort of okay? They're my teammates at the end of the day. It's up to them. You know, if they have to wake up for an early game, they've got to go to a certain bedtime. I can already see you smiling, so this could be quite an interesting take here.
So we have. I think it's a little bit new to the other guys. At least my methods of preparing, primarily outside of the game. So we are focusing a lot within the team right now to find the balance for everyone, because like you say, I don't want to be the guy to tell them what to do, what to eat and stuff like that, but I try to put it on them, like remember to drink your water, don't go sleep too much, don't sleep too little. If we have late night game, you can go late to bed. If we have early game, you should go earlier to bed and stuff like that. And
what,
yeah.
are you drinking energy drinks every day? Don't drink 5 instead of 1. Just stick to your 1 a day. And I remember the first official we had. He told us to buy bananas and apples because that's the only thing we were allowed to eat just before the match. We couldn't go and eat dinner 20 minutes before the match because then we would be tired and exhausted from eating. So we should eat like 3 hours before, and then we could eat a banana and an apple just before the game, and we would be ready.
Did you win the game?
I don't remember. but it worked in the major call. So
yeah, we qualified to RMR, and that was
yeah. No, you could stick with that one. Now, one of the things that we ask a lot of our guys that come on is who's the best player you've played with and the best player that you've played against. This could be in prac, in officials. Are you both just going to say Bird from Sky? Is that going to be the best player that you've played with?
No.
I also don't think so, but Cabbi can go ahead.
The best player I've played with, mechanically, I would say QnA. The overall best player, shit, I don't even know.
Let's
some of the CIS teams, the tier 2 CIS demons.
Yeah, I played against in practice. I would say simple is the easy choice in practice.
Yeah, if we're able to stick with tier 2 players as well, Cabbi, is there
I would
say
no. I would say Deco.
Yeah,
he's a machine. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a common one, isn't it, Ryan?
Yeah.
What about yourself, maNkz?
With, I think it's hard. It's probably between Fascia and to some extent Bird, because I think Bird, how do you say, accelerated Fascia's performance a lot, especially early stages of Fascia's new arrival to the back to the team. Like he was in Rugby Vikings without me at one point, and then he came back. But yeah, it must be Fascia. Like he's so unreal, mechanically skilled, and he just kills. I don't know how he just kills. It doesn't matter who's in front of him. If it's Snavi, if it's Face, whatever. Like when I'm talking practices and also in officials within tier 2, didn't really matter. So it must be Fascia.
Good choice. And player that you've played against?
In official or is like
Official or prac? Doesn't really matter.
I think it must be like simple. But if you only want to stay tier 2, I don't even know. Like it's probably one of those guys like Neofrag or something. Like you have pop off games. Like there's no chance. I feel like.
Yeah.
But probably like Neofrag.
Yeah, we saw a lot of success from him last year, and I think now getting the opportunity of playing at the higher level as well, he's sort of progressed his career even further than where he was playing down in the Czech scene with Sinners and just grinding all of those officials. Ryan, have we got much coming in on the Twitch chat? Any wild questions for Cabbi?
There's one for Cabbi. How much do you bench press?
Max is 90, but it's just one rep.
Okay.
Normally I'll just do 60, maybe 6 to 10 times in 3 sets.
Nice.
So when we come back in 6 months' time, is that going to be doubled, or how's the progression?
At the moment, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not doing so well in the gym, but hopefully I will get back.
I have a pretty interesting one for you then as well. Then maNkz is how do you know if a strat works? How do you test them out well enough to know that it should work?
Ooh, that's a good one actually, because it's something I personally and also like past maybe 1.5 years have been working a lot on, is analyzing strategies. Like one mistake I did in the past was like do the same strategy without realizing why it did not work and when I should use it. But the question was how I know if his strat is working or not, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, let's say we add a new strategy to our team. We actually have one we're gonna add tomorrow. I am pretty confident it's gonna work already, but we're gonna go in and then we're gonna like do it a lot of times when it makes sense through a game. So you have like 15 rounds a half, and maybe do it like 4 times, 5 times a half when it makes sense in the half, and then the game, and then I do it like maybe for 3 or 4 or 5 matches, and depending on how well it works and how well it doesn't work, I will like just keep it as a tactic or just pull it, like throw it away instantly if it's really not working. So I would say that's how. Like I just try it out in practice scrims. Don't over try it. Don't do it 15 rounds in a row. Don't try it at all. And then just if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And also analyze if it was the right time to do it, of course.
One more question for you both. Who shouts the most during games?
I think it might be maNkz actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's maNkz. If we're winning or losing, it's him.
Yeah. I used to be the quiet kid a little bit on the other teams, but I think you get in the zone in a whole different way when you're the in-game leader. Like it's yeah.
I reckon they got run to an epic land, Josh.
Yeah, come to a UK land. Yeah, I reckon they'd be loving it.
That's where all the screams and shouts happen. So, I guess that's it with the Q&A, Josh. Unless if we've got anything else.
The only last thing I would say is we normally ask a lot of the guys like, what is the next step? Obviously, the RMR is around the corner. Would you guys say with the new lineup that is already the next step, just being at the RMR?
Yeah, definitely. It's the biggest tournament you can qualify to, so there's nothing bigger. That is the next step.
I agree. Like when we formed this roster, and myself personally, I wanted to qualify for this RMR or the next RMR. So that went pretty fast, I would say. So, but overall, other than that, it's just improving within like tier 2, and maybe we do have a really good run at the RMR, and we can like what do we call, like snowball a bit of that, and maybe you can get a high rank and keep it if everything goes really well. Other than that, it's just gonna be keep grinding and keep improving, and someday we will hopefully be.
Lovely.
Nice.
All right. I think that
Good
wraps it up
sentiment
quite
to end
nicely,
it on.
Ryan.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. We can move on to the finished events a little bit more, and there's a lot to talk about, Josh. I think we can maybe start with something that you guys will be a little more familiar in. We can talk about the ESL Challenger League, maybe ESCA Premier as it's called. Yeah, sorry guys.
Yeah.
And overall, we can just have a little discussion, maybe about your run, but as well as that, we can have a look at the groups and everything like that. For those that don't know as well, it's changed a lot from what it was a few months ago. Now we are we're doing 4 groups of 4 GSL format rather than it was 2 groups of 8 round robin, right, Josh? When it was
Yeah, and then
ECA
even
Premier?
before that, it used to be everyone in like one group, didn't it, with the round robin? So it has changed its formats a bit over the last few seasons.
So I can bring it up now for everyone to see at home.
Okay.
Exactly what we're looking at here. Obviously, Group A is done and dusted. Group B is done and dusted. I think we can start with Group B. You guys were put in a pretty difficult group. I think it's safe to say. I mean, all the groups look pretty difficult. But you know, from an outsider's POV, it was, I think, probably B and probably D were the hardest to predict, in my opinion. Obviously, you guys haven't made it to playoffs. You went 1 and 2. I'll bring up the games for everyone at home to see now. Talk me through the group stage. You guys played Falcons first off, and you lost 2-1. Do you think it was just you know, maybe errors on your end, or was it something maybe that you don't quite know?
I would say that it's on our end. I made an interview with ESL as well after we won against Ongentium, where I also said that we felt like as a team we should have won that match, but it always goes both ways, you know. They are saying the same, obviously. But that's how we felt. We should have won it. There was a couple of rounds that should have gone our way, but didn't because we are inexperienced as a team, and yeah, it's still kind of new. So yeah, that's how I would rate that match.
How would you describe Falcons, like, as an overall team? Like, where do you think they sit? Because I think MBK and Masuda have only joined fairly recently. I felt as if MBK didn't play at his highest level in this sort of group stage, but do you think that they could be a very difficult team to deal with maybe a few months down the line?
Actually, if I'm being honest, I don't think their kind of playstyle is our biggest problem.
Okay.
I think they suit us very well. I can see that they might that other teams might have trouble against them, but in our situation, I think it's actually kind of good. But it's also because they play a bit like we do ourselves, so it's kind of a mirror when we play against them.
Okay. One thing I would add, Ryan, is obviously B&E top in their group. Sample size is still very small, because I think some of their results out of the player break have been fairly inconsistent. They haven't been that great. I thought Rigon played very well in this group stage, and Flatroo looked to be up to his standard stuff. So promising for B&E moving forward into the RMR. But at the same time, you play Ugentium, you play Falcons, then you've got to go over to the RMR. How much positivity are you probably getting from those 2 games in particular? I think maybe the playoffs might be a little bit more of a test for them to kind of see where they sit.
Yeah, I agree. I think yeah, like this group could have gone a whole lot different if we had like, I think okay, B&E very convincingly, but otherwise I think everything else could have been pretty, like everything else was up in the air.
Okay. I want to ask about the veto between the game against Falcons the first time and the second time, because it was slightly different, not massively. Inferno came through rather than Nuke, but obviously Vertigo and Dust 2 both got played. So what is involved in something like that? Do you want to keep the veto kind of the same? Do you want to maybe make the veto slightly differently if you're playing a team? I mean, it's only a few days, right, between when you played them the first time against the second time?
It was actually their choice to change the veto, I believe, because we won their pick last time, and this time we won it, I believe. So we won on Nuke, which was their pick, and now it was Inferno, and they won. So I think they just have analyzed that we don't usually pick into one of those maps, like Inferno and Nuke. So they just tried both out, and they lost on Nuke first time, and they were probably like, let's try and see if they can beat us on Inferno, and we couldn't. So I think that's just why.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we
Actually
could talk about.
surprised the first
Yeah, go on,
time.
Cabbi.
We were actually surprised the first time when we played Nuke. We actually thought they were gonna pick Inferno the first time we played them.
Yeah, true.
So and they picked Nuke, and we were like, okay. We were actually kind of going blind into it because we were so sure that we were gonna play Inferno that we didn't even edge at the Nuke. And then we just went in and we won that map somehow. And this time they picked Inferno as we expected. But we couldn't win it this time.
We were prepared, but we lost.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's how it goes. Tim, Ryan, a team you'll be familiar with. They had a tight series against you guys in that elimination game, but kind of got blasted in their opening game against B&E. Tell me about Tim, because they're a team that when we look at them, they're an average team, but they're nothing class, nothing towards the higher end of tier 2. So could you look at this team and say, okay, this should be a fairly easy game for us? Because they did keep it quite close in both maps.
So it's kind of a little bit hard for me to answer these questions right now because personally, I do feel like we should be able to beat these teams comfortably. But the reality is that me personally and just in general have been taking a step back, and we have to work all 5 as a unit now to reach a point where we can beat these teams comfortably. So I think I don't think any of us expect to beat any teams right now because we need time to have fundamentals on point, and that also shows in the Falcon games. I do believe that in 3 months we are gonna beat these teams, but right now the reality is that we can be really good or we can be really bad, and stuff like that. So yeah.
Okay. Hard work needed when the RMR comes up. Over in Group A, Ryan, CIS always doing well, as expected. 1 win and Forza. I will give a little bit of credit for Saw for putting up some very good fights against both Forza and 1 win. The shame is that they didn't win a map. And I think that hurts for them because you obviously had like Saw and FTW kind of coming together and having some shuffles between one another. So it does suck when you look at that result and go, geez, we didn't even win a map or win a series. But a lot of their maps that they played in this group were really competitive.
I find pretty interesting as well. 1 win top the group, but they actually go negative in round difference. Was
Yeah.
another point I was going to bring up. Like, how does that even happen? I mean, fair play to them.
Yeah,
like,
that's actually crazy.
It's one of those stats that don't happen too often, right? But they obviously get the 2-0. Forza go 2-1. A little bit disappointed in 9, if I'm honest with you. I think if we look at their matches, obviously against Forza, you can see the first map was close. They take it. And then, obviously, they're able to beat them in a 2-1. Dust 2 doesn't go their way. Mirage does. And so you're 1-0. And you obviously play the winners game against 1 win, who, you demolish in the first map. And then it's quite close in the next 2. Goes 29 rounds in Dust 2 and Overpass. It's excusable. But then you get the rematch with Forza as well. And it seems to be you've gone backwards. You've kind of backpedaled from your opening BO3. And obviously, sometimes it happens, right? And I think you guys obviously shared that with your experience in Group B. Is that sometimes if the veto looks a little different, if it's a different day, it's inconsistency, right? But the fact that they go 1-0, they obviously play the winner's game against 1-win, which fair enough, you don't, you're not always guaranteed to win. And then when that rematch comes with Forza, you compare that to the opening game, and actually you get smacked just as much. The first map is still close, and then you lose the next two. Just a little bit sad to see them go 1-2, really, because obviously the project was announced months ago, and it wasn't looking too bad. But yeah, it's just a shame to see obviously those guys don't make it through. But still got 2 more groups to go. Still got the playoff stage. A lot of time to learn. And for us, Josh, I think we're always a big believer in this event, just because obviously it bridges that next step to Tier 1 quite possibly, obviously with conference on the line. And the top 16 teams here are arguably the best you can get in Tier 2, right? Like, when you look at the ESEA circuit, it is so devastating to try and get into this. Advanced runs can go on for 7 BO3s, and then the moment you play that qualifying BO3, you get nothing, right? You're just sent back to the BO1s all season. So we know that you have to be a decently consistent team to get here. So keeping an eye out 100% on this one.
I mean, one thing to add, Saw placed 4th at the last event. Like, they had quite a good lower bracket run in the playoffs, and yet they're not even taking a map out of group stage. So it maybe just shows that some of these teams can be a little bit up and down. I think 1-win went to the final where they lost to Falcons last time around. So try and see if they can get a little bit of a deeper run. Who do you think so far that's made playoffs between 1-win, Forza, BNE, and Falcons is the biggest threat in the playoffs?
Us?
If BNE gets back in form, it would probably be them. But otherwise, I would say 1-win.
I'm a little different.
Okay.
I do think Force is probably the biggest contender. I do think they are really well. Like, I don't know how. I think BNE did a little bit of a miracle run at their last major. But I think in general, I think Force is a bit more consistent and like play a little more well as a team, probably maybe a little bit more consistent, where BNE plays more of like power spikes or like individual performances and good momentum. So yeah, I think Force are very, very, very good.
It might be an opportunity, Ryan, at some point to see another one of these 1-win Forza derbies, because they seem to be matching up against each other quite a bit now in the Tier 2 circuit. So if it's like an upper bracket semi or an upper bracket final, that could actually be quite a good game to follow on. I don't think the dates are out just yet on when Group C and Group D are going to be played through.
20th, and it'll be the 28th.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. But again, like, I think the games only get played Wednesdays and Thursdays, right? So
yeah,
okay.
It's a bit weird how it works, but obviously the midweek stuff, we like it.
So maybe playoffs after the RMR then, I'm thinking.
It'd have to be.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll have to check the scheduling documents and whatever and see when it is.
I don't think they would put it in right in the RMR.
You wouldn't, you wouldn't think so, would you? So maybe finish all the groups before the RMR and then start the playoffs after.
Maybe would it be post major in case that some of these teams?
Nah, not.
Well, BNE have to play in the
far,
major.
Is it?
BNE have to play in the major, don't they?
Yeah, but...
So
yeah, maybe.
Well, oh yeah, true. They play in the RMRs at least, but yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, what happens if one of these teams do make the major? I mean, the chances are
then you just forfeit your spot. I think.
You reckon?
Like if it schedules, like you're gonna be focusing the major over
of course,
ECL playoffs, aren't you?
I don't know. I think they'd have accounted for that. I'd hope at least.
Yeah, maybe. Well, we'll have to keep an eye out for it then.
No clue. What do we want to talk about next, Josh? You wanna
we can talk about this LAN that Chiron was talking about. We had that para match White Knight, whatever it was, the last time around, and I think he hinted at it that there was another LAN coming. We've seen that only finish a couple of days ago, and it's another one of these CIS LANs. They brought on a couple of the pro players to be like some guest commentators. A little bit odd with how some of the results went down. K23 came in last place when you look at them as being one of the strongest teams there, Ryan. And knowing that they're playing an ECL as well, that is a little bit worrying for K23 that they had a tough time at this event when they're a favorite to make it to the final or win the whole thing. So yeah, I don't know where they're going to sit and what they're going to be like because they're at the RMR as well.
Yeah. First things first, Doja's playing. So that was cool little touch to add on this event is that Doja's still kicking, and obviously Mo as well in that sense. Obviously, the K23 lads, we know Avantgarde is 100 ping gods, right? They're under the Avantgarde banner. And then obviously we know Tag as well as kind of like the CIS side as well. Other than that, there's a lot of unknown teams, and as we kind of scroll down, you'll see that there is a common theme in sort of the group stage. K23 getting knocked out in 0-2 fashion, but other than that, a lot of the teams actually get knocked down. I'm talking, you know, your Bebra, which as you can see has Boomich in it. We have the Webster's lads as well. Killmatic, Duke for sure, Polt in the mixer as well. But when we actually head to playoffs, it's nice to see the grand final is a BO5. Shame it only goes the 4 maps and not the full 5. But the fact that our final consists of RCL and Good Job, and you scroll up and you see the talent, and you scroll back down and you're like, how has this happened? Like, I don't know, it's a bit disappointing really that we don't have, you know, maybe like a K23 Avantgarde final. Obviously they're in the same group, but you know, like, it would have been nice to see some of the top CIS teams clash, but it's just, I don't know, it's like we've just plucked names out of a hat and hoped.
Yeah, I mean, even...
They clearly underperformed. There's not much to say about it. It's just...
Yeah, there is quite a bit there. I mean, obviously for Boomich, this is his first event playing before, you know, his last official with Na'Vi. So you do wonder, does that sort of strike anything? Is he joining a team? I mean, he's on like a bit of a stream team with the guys of like Buster and Fanda and Poker too. So it's not a serious team. They probably just went there and had a little bit of a laugh. The Good Job guys are the same core from Nemega, which is Box, MDS, and Speedak. So there are some like known players on that team, but even Speedak didn't play a HLTV official for about a year before coming to this event, and he wins the whole thing. So I wonder whether we get Speedak sort of back involved, because when I think about Box, MDS, and Speedak, these guys are like top 30 team in the world when they were playing on Nemega around that sort of time.
Yeah, for a long time as well.
Yeah. Obviously, they've dropped off quite a bit, and so is like the actual Nemega team. But this might be able to put them in the right direction. This RCL team, Ryan, I've never even heard of them. How they're making playoffs, I don't know. I don't know what's happened.
They do practice a lot, I can tell you that.
Yeah?
Every time I'm booking practices, these guys are on for the whole day.
Okay.
Nice.
So that's probably why they are performing somewhat well.
They're working hard.
Yeah, like they are, like I see the name all the time. They don't accept us. I don't know why, but but they do search packs, so that's probably why.
Okay. Well, this Stinex guy, Ryan, I was watching a couple of his games. He looks pretty good. A rifler on this RCL team. So maybe we'll see them. I don't think they play on HLTV very much.
I was going to say, I've literally never heard of the name, so...
I remember we were watching the major qualifier when we were qualified, and they were in it as well in the top round of 32. No, round of 16 they were in.
Okay.
Against Los Cocotas.
Astralis' devil, yeah.
Yeah. That's how I remember. I was looking at the names, and I remember one of the guys, because in Danish his name means bat.
Yeah.
So we were memeing a bit with his name. So yeah, I remember him.
Okay. One thing, I don't know if you can bring it up, Ryan, is Exipower's stats for this event. He had an absolute shocker, and I don't know what that's going to be like for confidence, knowing that he's the main AWP for K23 and you've got the RMR coming up. But he really did not play well at all this event. Like, obviously, sample size is small. They only played 2 best of 3s. But in the 5 maps, I watched a couple of them, and he was missing a lot. So whether that's concerning moving forward to the RMR, it might be for K23. They've just got to press this result by them and focus on the next challenge at hand, because this is a very disappointing result from them.
I wouldn't be able to this moment, by the way, but...
that's all right. No worries then.
We'll take your word for it, man. No worries. Yeah, I think it's nice to see that we get some of these CIS lands, but I think the last one that we looked at as well, Josh, was just like crazy. Like
yeah, it was, to be
the
fair.
PARI White Knight land, right? That was the one that we were looking at, and that was like just as like you couldn't predict anything. They had Chiron on as a guest commentator first and foremost, and then it's like K23 losing a grand final to Indie IRA, Webster's make top 4. I don't know. Yeah, it
Bit
was,
wild over there.
Yeah, mate, we love it though. We love it. We love it.
But those teams are actually not that like you might think they are not that good, but I think especially Websters we played a little bit recently, but also in practices like they don't win a lot of matches. They don't do very well in like the what do you call it, like the tier 3 scene or whatever, tier 2 scene, but they do actually know how to play the game, and I think it's just a matter of time. And I'm not surprised that they do like surprise people on LAN in the CIS region. Like, it really doesn't come.
Yeah, I am seeing their name quite a bit, like especially in qualifiers. So maybe we might see them eventually make a qualification run into a LAN event or something to a higher nature. Because I do keep seeing their name pop up. I think Heavy God was playing with them a little bit, which is like the Israeli Russian player. I know that he's not there anymore. So
he's an Iron Branch, I think.
Oh, okay. So there's been a bit of a shuffle going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that interesting event, Ryan, and hopefully, I mean, even for Good Job, I don't know if they're like mixing, but they were playing as like an unorged team going into that event and just got picked up, I think 5 days before the event started, or maybe even 1 day before the event started. So we'll see what happens, because they were always like the number 2 when I remember Good Job. You had Nemega as number 1, Good Job as the number 2 sort of Belarusian team. So maybe they're just trying to pick up a new squad.
I think so.
Yeah, probably. And then it's it's a core. They played before MGS, BDAG, and Box, so they probably know what to expect of each other.
Yeah, definitely.
Do we want to move on to the Cyberpark Cup, Josh?
Yeah, we can do.
Cyberpark Championship, right? It's like the grand final still yet to be played, but
yeah. So this is quite similar to the last event, but except it's like an online group stage, and then the final is on LAN. I don't know if you could bring it up, Ryan, but it's the game of Webster. Is it Websters and 9 Pandas? Let me just double check. Yes, if you can bring it up, the game of Websters versus 9 Pandas.
I think I know what this is. It's Poya.
Yeah, Poya was pretty good in this game. Had a good first map, had a good second map, had a great series overall. Somehow drops 40 kills in 24 rounds. I don't know what they're feeding him over there, because he played in the last RMR, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think so. For maybe it was
Savat's team, or like Ave or ASG.
Yeah,
I think they were called.
Yeah, it's true.
But yeah, I saw a little bit of this on Twitter. Yeah, I don't know what's happening. But another one of these events, Take Aim Gaming, one of the guys that we spoke about, obviously the X1 Shot lads, they're in the final, so an opportunity to see what they're going to be like on LAN again. 9 Pandas is C's team. Now, I think I remember when he was playing on like, what is it, BepZ and Trident and Singularity. I'm not too familiar with his new team. I don't know, have you guys played them at all?
I think we've done. We have practiced against them, but I think that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Because they got Little as coach, who used to be the coach of Forza. So you've got like a couple of decent pieces and names on that team. And they've obviously gone quite the distance to go right down to the end. I mean, one thing as well, like I think RCL, they lost one of their games, but then one of their games was against a cheating bunch of teams, so they got like a free pass to the upper bracket. So always some wacky stuff going on with these sort of events, especially online, right?
Yeah. I mean, I personally have a hard time accusing people of cheating because I have been through it.
Yeah.
Being on a team that is being accused of cheating. So but also in the past, I think it's like just pointing fingers, just being bad losers, in my opinion, most of the time. But I guess that there is some people out there cheating in online tournaments. I don't know, like
has to be. I guess it's just how it is. But
I don't believe until it's proven most of the time. But yeah, I guess like
Did you guys see the clip from, what is it, Adam 9130 on Overpass in one of the open qualifiers?
Yep, we had a little bit of a discussion about that one, because I was like, this guy has like 8k matches on Faceit, 15,000 hours in the game. And just pucking, like, why would he not be able to have a little bit of game sense? And then those guys are like, oh, he timed us 2 times in a match. That's impossible because we are pros. He's not.
There's also sometimes, you know, when you go watch demo, everything is sketchy.
Mm.
Yeah.
Might just be a little timing, and if you see it on demo, you're like, this can't be. He's cheating, but in reality, you do it yourself all the time.
So benefit of the doubt, is that what we're going with?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
All right, I
Let's
like
do
that.
it.
That's a bit more positive than what I was expecting to come out.
Yeah, I was
but
gonna say, mate, I
yeah.
was ready. I was ready to hear some hard flame. I'm not gonna lie, I was prepping for it. Just nothing happened. I don't know, man. That was me, or nah. I guess you gotta keep the neutral head. I get it.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Anything else to add about this tournament, Josh? Other than
No,
I
not really
think
too
the
much else. I
obvious-
mean, LAN finals coming up. That could be kind of cool.
I
to
think
see
that's a
what
little
both of these
bit
teams-
strange actually. That I saw, because I saw Poya that had that game, and I saw the event, and I was like, what is this? And then I see that they go to the LAN finals, and like it's Russia, and I think it's pretty big. So going so far for one match is a little bit strange. I feel like.
Yeah, but don't you have that with the Dust 2 League and
Yeah,
It's
Denmark.
Denmark. Yeah.
yeah, I guess. Yeah.
It's not that. It's
Yeah.
not that big.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
and they're competing for 900k, 600k for first, 300k for second, but it's in Russian rubles, right? So actually, first place gets 9.9k, second place gets 4.9. So
Okay.
you know, it's
Yeah.
not like a bad event, I guess. But you are right, like a LAN final. I
But
don't know.
if you
to
have
only
to
play one
travel
game-
10 hours
Yeah.
in Russia, you know, just for one BO3, it's much.
Good point.
It's a lot.
yeah. I guess we'll keep things regional, and then we can do the frag last.
Yeah, we can do. Move over to the qual.
Do we want to be talking about CCT Series
Yeah, we can
2
do.
or Series
Yeah,
1?
yeah. We'll go with Series 2 because I think Series 1's already been wrapped up, isn't it?
Yes, we know we've got like it's kind of ongoing. We're halfway through our first
Oh,
stage. Of the
I see what you
groups.
mean. You mean like, well, we can start with the qual and then maybe get into some of the teams that are there.
All right. Well, you're gonna do the close quali, right?
We'll do the closed qual to start. One thing I will say is I'm loving that Nigma Galaxy got an invite
yes,
to this
yeah.
closed qualifier, and even though you know they're not going to be the strongest team, they actually put up some decent fights. Like I watched their game against Infinite on Dust 2. They took them to OT.
Yeah.
So even though some of the other maps weren't really that competitive, knowing that they can take I would say an adequate level team of Infinite, like you've got some okay players in there. They're not the highest in tier 2. They're not one of the lowest. Taking them to OT is quite an achievement. So I'd love to see Nigma Galaxy getting an invite every single time to the closed qual, maybe some more female teams, because I know we spoke about it on previous shows. Ryan Astralis are getting in, and IP is getting in. Like some of the big name orgs are starting to pick up female teams. Just keep giving them spots to these sort of qualifiers because it's on HLTV. You get 2 best of 3s, and you're just gaining good experience.
And I think what's really interesting, sorry,
go on.
maNkz, is that you talk about how close Dust 2 is. It's like it's a lot to learn from as well, right? Like for them, they would probably the majority of the time, you know, you're only playing in Impact ECL, so you're only playing against female teams. And I know that sounds like a little bit strange of me to say, but I would argue that maybe the thought process is a bit different, and playing against Infinite is going to be very different to what you're used to playing in the Impact League. So you're never going to have, you know, a home run game and a home run series in your first tournament in, you know, what is not Impact basically. But it's always nice to see them get the option.
I also think it's nice that this team in particular have been invited for these kind of events, because I do think that some of the females of that team, I believe, have been grinding a lot recently and are actually on top of some of the matchmaking. Like, face it, they are like 4k elo, I believe, some of them. So I do think like that lineup actually deserves it, but I think that we should, like, they shouldn't start throwing around invites to every other female team, because
Yeah.
I have
Gotta earn
checked
it.
up on some of the new rosters because I'm a little bit interested in how well the females can do in games in general. But they are like, I will say they need more time before they can compete in these tournaments. Most of the
Yeah.
other female teams.
That makes sense. I mean, one thing that we could also add is with Impact League growing, that's going to give them more of a push to be stronger, to be better, and then maybe 6 months down the line, 12 months down the line, you get a couple of others. I
Yeah.
know Zaz's and Giuliano's team in the past got some of these invites, a couple of Dream Hacks, a couple of like the Snow Sweet Snows here or there. So
Yeah.
this is a step in the right direction. I think as well with this qualifier, we actually saw quite a lot of academy teams. This is only the second time the OG Academy have played in an event outside of the Academy League, and a debut for Eternal Fire Academy. They've never played in an event outside of the Academy League as well. So knowing that Young Ninjas are there too, maybe what we'll start to see is sort of after the player break and deeper into the year when We Play isn't on, Ryan, that a lot of these Academy teams are at least trying to get some officials under their belt.
Yeah. In Tropic, Prow, isn't
Yep.
that also that's also Academy team, right?
It's a
think
tough
it
one
is.
to weigh up because normally we look at like academy teams as you could get the call up to the main team, but obviously it's like a Czech core into like Entropic. So
Oh,
we would say like a second team.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
you could class them as an academy team.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
there's still
okay.
young talents over there.
Okay, makes sense.
I think.
Yeah, go on,
Sorry,
man.
Josh. I was going to say one other thing is every single team that plays second, bar SC Esports, got the go through. Notice how only one team that actually went first in their group qualified for the main event. It was Los Cogusos that got it, eSuper got it, and Honoris beat Dynamo Eklot in a BO3 to get there. So
What's happening?
yeah, I don't even know what's the go-to there, but
There's a few upsets in those plans. I mean, Honoris beating Eklot 2-0. Honoris have never really been a
Mate,
massive
they've
hard-hitting
just-
team.
yeah.
But that series wasn't even that competitive. And then Nexus beating SC. I mean, we were talking about them with what they did in the Blast Call. They showed us some very good signs. And yet you're not taking a map off Nexus in a game that qualifies you to the main event. Obviously, Zello going back to his roots. Maybe you could give us some thoughts about that, maNkz, knowing that you've played with him. The way that me and Ryan looked at it is this is a massive step back. You're going from a competitive international team back to your home country. There's no way that Nexus are going to get up to a top 30, top 40 position in at least the next 6 months. Like, if they really wanted to push there, it's going to be a long-term project. It's going to take a lot of time. Do you think that was the right decision for him?
So I personally think Zillow is like such a nice guy and really, really skilled. One of the best mechanically skilled players I've ever played with. And he played with us for a little bit, but things went downhill, so that's kind of sad. I actually had looked forward to start playing with him for a long time, but for now I think it's fine for him to take a step back, because I think I'm not even sure if it's like a step back, but yeah, I think he is so skilled, and when he gets a right opportunity at an international team again, he will come there eventually if he keeps playing, because he's like going back to Nexus, playing tier 3, 4, whatever you want to call it, like just bombing everyone.
Yeah.
And eventually he will get a offer from a tier 1 team, I think, or maybe a tier 2 international team, and then it's okay. Like, he's
Okay.
one of those guys, like Torsi, maybe. Who else? Like Aker recently joined the team, but he had a lot of experience. But I mean, he's one of those guys you can put on an international roster and expect them to be top 30, top 40, even better maybe.
The only concern I have is how long did it take him to leave Nexus in the first place,
Yeah.
right? He was there
Yeah.
for like 6 years. So
Yeah.
you come back, I mean, even if he's there for another 2 years, that's still a lot of time in CS. So
Yeah.
we'll see how long he stays this time around, because that was
Yeah.
always the bit of the joke of Zello of,
I-
he's played on Nexus, he's going to leave, and then it's like 6 years later and he finally does. So
I think he is ready, but everything went downhill with our roster, so he's just maybe waiting for new opportunity. I'm not sure. I cannot speak for him.
Yeah.
But
all right. Well, we'll try and see what Nexus are like in the next stage of the tournament. Ryan, another disappointing event for Titans. Got the invite to the Blast Squall, didn't do that well
Aw.
there. Group C.
Shame.
I mean, they beat Eternal Fire Academy, but weren't they the team that like got absolutely bombed in
Mate,
the Academy League?
Listen, I love the people on Titans, but the respect it's going south at a very rapid
Yeah.
rate, man. Like, again, this is a group that I think, you know, at least getting the insight from maNkz, he's a very good player of Zello, but as a 5, Nexus Gaming is never a side that we've seen reach the tier 2 heights that maybe we'd expect out of some of the individuals. And Eternal Fire Academy, again, no offense to them, they've been a team for a few months, and they are the team that 100% goes 0-2 here. The fact that Nexus are top in their groups, and the fact that Titans are 1 and 2 with Eternal Fire Academy in the group, like, man, you have so much experience. God knows how much money that organization is putting in their pockets.
They're
and
pumping,
still,
mate. They're pumping
and
cash.
still, this is a closed qualifier. This is even the main event. This is no Swiss stage. This is not like the tier 2 that we're used to. You go fucking 1 and 2 in a play-in. Like, man, I'm sorry.
Well,
It has to be said. Fingers have to be pointed, man. That team, that's like... You know, like Twitch chat loves the this team should disband after like losing a pistol. Like this is like the closest version you get to it, man. Honestly, I'm so tilted that I'm seeing this team play. Honestly,
yeah, because you guys would have seen it. You played in the Alyssa events. You knew what they were like when even the older lineups, like the previous iterations, mate, they would just come in 0-3, getting the odd best of 3 here or there. And this team, at least the foundations of it have been together for like 18 months, going on 2 years. You've got to expect results quicker than what is happening here. And even their decider game wasn't even close against the Poles. So, yeah, I don't know about them. A couple of players that did catch my eye was Sammy, one of the Polish guys that plays on Honorous, and Nilo for Young Ninjas was actually doing quite well in this event. So we'll get to see what they're like in the main event.
I think Nilo has always done well, to be honest. He's always been a beast. And I don't know about Honorous. I think it's weird they could beat Eglot. I think Eglot is a really good team, especially at the moment.
Yeah, maybe they've got the syndrome of just playing too many officials. That's my concern with them, is that they just play every single event under the sun. I don't know if it's burnout or what it is, but the last few weeks they can be a little bit inconsistent than maybe what they were a few months ago.
I saw like
they play a lot. I see this.
Yeah, on their Twitter they tweeted they've played they threw a stat up there. They got like top something. They're 54th on HLTV and they've played 90 maps in the last 3 months, which, you know, it's not like the most staggering numbers. I think back maybe to Skade, who probably won up
Sinners,
last year, your Sinners, things like that. But 90 maps in 3 months. I mean, if you want to do the maths on that, that's 30 maps a month. That's at least a map a day of officials. Never mind, you know, when you're doing your practice, you're doing your offline. Like, there's so much more behind it than just what you see on HLTV. And these guys are like,
they play in advance, don't they?
Series a day, yeah. And some of the officials they play aren't even on HLTV that have been recorded. Yeah. So. I don't know. They're number 1 in most played maps in the last 3 months. So you
makes
are
sense.
Right. Maybe there's a bit of burnout there, but yeah, I think looking at the CCT event, maybe do you want to talk about the start of the main Swiss or the
yeah,
Swiss
we can
stage?
do. Yeah, we can get a start off. I mean, I don't know if you guys can say if you got invited. If you are invited, probably don't say it because it hasn't been announced yet. But
So I can't say anything.
Yeah, we like that. Don't want to leak too much here. But there's some good invites. I mean, I think for ITB, they're playing with you guys in the main Swiss stage of Alyssa. Enterprise are on some decent form right now. You got Blue Jays that won Advanced last season. Apex, who maybe should be doing a little bit better than what they actually are, but they've got quite a veterans lineup. Both Big Academy and Apex, we'll talk about them in the next event, Ryan, going over to America and getting some LAN experience there. Seems like one of the guys from 7 AM is joining maNkz NXT as well, so we'll probably get an idea of what their full 5 is in the next couple of days. And then obviously Sinners upgrading their lineup after the player break with Zero. So there's some good teams in here.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think about Eyeballers? That could be an interesting topic. Because the one thing that we saw from them is as soon as they sort of brought the project together, even when they were under Hellslayers, they were beating some top 30 teams. They were keeping it really close with the officials. But now it seems like the project's been formed. It's been given a bit of time. The results aren't really showing. Is that concerning to them?
I think the way that they won is just... They were surprising everyone, especially JW. I remember in the start watching some of the games, he was just jumping around with Dorb like it's 2014 again. And when people catch on to how they play and what he likes to do as the star player, I think I just think they get countered. It's I don't think they have much to do after that because they don't have many individuals that can step up when he can't do it. So I think that's the worst or an obstacle they have to get over at least.
Yeah. See if they can bounce back. I mean, for the win, they obviously played at Pro League. I mean, not that they had the best of times there, Ryan, but that's good experience to bring back
Yeah.
playing on LAN, playing against tier 1 teams, and now sort of coming back to what you would say is the home, right? The more comfortable environment. You play at home, you play online, you play in the lower ends of tier 2 than what you would at Pro League. Skate as well. We could talk about that a little bit later on. The Bulgarians, obviously not with an organization at the moment. Whether they get picked up very quickly or not is probably a bit of a conversation. But yeah, there's some strong teams. I don't know how far maybe the closed qual teams can go, if I'm going to be honest, because none of those four strike me as maybe having a deep run here in the main Swiss. I don't know if you think the same, Ryan.
I don't know, mate. If you can beat Astrology, you can beat anyone. That's
Yeah.
yeah. I'm only pulling at straws in that. I don't know. I think there's definitely some the invited teams at least on this list should beat all the closed qualifier teams. I think that's what we're getting at. Like maybe they take a series here and there off of maybe there's an Illuminar win, or maybe Big Academy have an off day, or Xskade are having troubles, and so maybe the teams that are invited from the closed qualifier do get a map, a series. Maybe they put up some results, but I don't see them getting through this stage into the playoffs. So that would be my best guess. And I guess talking about Big Academy and Apex, obviously you summed it up quite nicely. We just had Fragadelphia, number 17, if I'm not mistaken. They obviously have. If I'm pretty sure, it's just everyone comes through the last chance qualifiers, some of the season ranking stuff as well. Obviously, the last chance qualifier was played there. Any team could turn up and play. And then it was 4 teams in the GSL format into a single Elim playoff bracket. Quite brutal, if you ask me, how that works. But at the same time, we enjoy it. We enjoy it a lot. It was quite an interesting event as well, Josh. I've never really kept my eye on Frag, but I guess obviously 7 AM going and Blackhand going. And then we started getting a lot of European eyes on this event, right? Obviously, with Big Academy going. We had Team 1 all the way from Brazil come over as well. I guess that's obviously something that they do. You can see there's a couple of other Brazilian players here and there. Obviously, you have ATK from South America joining us as well. Blackhand, obviously the UK boys as well. We look at this event. As a whole, I don't think there's a lot to talk about in the group stage here, because I think everyone you would expect to qualify did. But the playoff stage, I think, is where we can focus our attention to. Apex not making the grand finals, getting beaten by Big Academy, and what was a very fun last map, may I say. But Mirage was a bit of a devastating one in favour of them, and then to go on to Dust 2 and not win, you'd have thought momentum maybe on their side. And the fact that there's 2 EG teams playing in this tournament, by the way, like, I don't know, man. Talk about competitive integrity. If they play against each other, man, I tell you what, Twitch chat would have a great time watching that game.
Yeah. I mean, this has been 2 frags back to back in which Academy teams have made the final, right? I think Apex Rebels made the final of the last one, and now Big Academy have done it the same. I think that's a bit of a wake up call to the North American teams.
There were a lot worse teams last event, right?
Yes.
It wasn't as stacked. That is true. Yeah. But still, like, pretty good for the UK representatives. Obviously, Ryan, Blackhand, and 7 AM having the chance of going over there. I think this opens up more of an opportunity, perhaps down the line, maybe the next event or the one after, where more European representation will go over, because it is a decent prize pool. I mean, 100 grand for a LAN is very solid. I don't know if you've got anything like this in Denmark, but it's rather than a BYOC, it's like a LAN cafe where you've got like I don't want to say a BYOC, but like an open circuit where you can try and qual, and then obviously you got the season rankings. Is there anything like that in Denmark?
I would say the closest is probably Copenhagen Games, but that's you still bring your own PC,
Yeah.
But that's the closest you try to call for the main tournament, actually. So.
Yeah, I think some people on Twitter brought it up. I'm not sure if it was Warbar from the previous Flames and now EG, but like the possibilities of actually making good lane events like this maybe in the Scandinavian and here in the north is like so good. You can get so many good teams and such big prize pool and spectators, I think. So, but it never really happens. Also in Denmark, there's not really any LAN tournaments you can attend with the international teams or anything.
Well,
And
let's put it this way, maNkz. If
Go on.
there was some sort of event like this in EU, would you guys be interested? Because
Yes.
then I think that gets a bit of a gauge. You guys are at the RMR, you're towards the higher end of the tier 2 spectrum. So if we had something like this in EU, do you think it would attract a lot of teams like yourself and maybe around that sort of level?
I think events like this would attract too many good teams almost.
Yeah,
Like
that's
it would
true.
be so unreal stacked if everyone that wanted to could attend an event like this.
Yeah.
It's like Elise events or like this CCT event. Like all of these teams would probably go and just sprawl it out. Like
Yeah. I reckon
128 teams just
yes,
sprawling it
yeah.
out.
That's
Be like
the
the
thing.
open quals.
Oh, yeah. No, that's the thing
Yeah.
though. It's like there'd be so many teams. I reckon
Yeah.
honestly that's why Europe probably won't ever have one. At least it's open to all of Europe because man, like you're offering 100k and I've got a
Sign-ups would be
question
so
for you.
quick.
Yeah, it would
be
fill
hard.
instantly. And it would be
There,
like,
there would be like 10 or 20 top 40 teams who would go out in group stage just because
yeah,
all the tier 2 teams would come.
yeah. I mean, like as well, like the event would have to last so long. Like you think this event started Group A, the first game was September 10th, right? And the grand final was obviously September 12th. So it took them, and this was this played at 3 in the morning UK.
Yeah, but
time?
that's because you're
Well, yeah, that's
UK
5 hours
time, yeah.
back. It starts.
Yeah.
That means it starts at 10:30
Oh
p.m.
yeah,
our
that's a late
time.
one.
That's a very late BO3. So if we say that takes the best part of 2 days up, there's only 16 teams. Like I think maNkz is correct. Like you would have so many good teams to sign up. Like it would fill up so quick, man, and the event would last like a week minimum. You'd be waiting for games. So I don't know. I'd like to see it. A question for you guys, maybe. You know, you can't answer or whatever. Did this event as a whole interest you guys on going over, obviously having qualified for the RMRs, or was it more a focus of you just want to stay in EU and you just want to work on your own craft before you go and play for the major?
Are you talking about that we wanted to attend Fragadelphia?
Would you have wanted to go to Frag?
No, I don't think so. The competition is like not good enough for the time invested and how much you can improve. And also like that's probably the main reason.
Fair.
Yeah, maybe throw in some more tier 2 EU teams, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
starts bringing a bit more attention.
But then
forward
it should still be in EU. This was in America, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Philadelphia.
So it's quite a long travel time, a bit too long for these teams. And if there was so many good tier 2 EU teams, why just not bring them to EU somewhere?
Maybe. Well, I know CCT are going to start doing studio events, like LAN events
They're
next
giving out,
year.
like, 10
So
of them, right? Like 10
yeah, so
studio
that might
events.
actually be towards that sort of spectrum of what it will end up being, and then maybe when we get more of them, we'll get more of the TOs trying to put some lands on. But yeah, I think great to see 7 AM and Blackhand obviously over there, UK representatives. Shame that there was like a derby in a qualification game. I know you watch
Oh.
quite a lot of their games, Ryan. Like that's just
Yeah.
sometimes how the bracket runs. I think we got
devastating.
some good signs out of both of them, and I'm sure that's a lot of experience that they'll take back home of what that trip was like. Just getting stage experience, at least for some of them too.
I guess we can move on to. Oh, go on, maNkz. Sorry.
What teams? Is it UK teams? Or
Yeah,
what?
Blackhand and 7 AM.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with them at all? Played them in
No.
practice?
Not at all.
Yeah. Okay.
Fair enough.
And they're not in a group, right? So that's why I was a bit.
Blackhand made
Oh,
the
Blackhand.
main
Oh,
event.
So,
yeah.
Blackhand
yeah,
is-
so the Blackhand had to play 7 AM, so the two UK teams had to play each other to
Oh,
get into the main event.
yeah. Okay.
So
bit of a
it was,
shame,
It was,
but
yeah,
yeah.
it was. Mate, we
Yeah.
loved the nut spam, Mr. LVN. Yeah, what a guy. I guess we can move on to topic 3 now. I talked about it at the start of the show, Josh. Maybe some flame to be sent your way.
Yeah.
For Mr. No Chance over here. I at least
Yeah.
put you guys in unlikely, so don't worry. I like you a little bit more than Josh does. But we're going to ask you guys to decide together how you think this is going to go. The RMR, as you can see on screen, 16 teams. Ideally, we want 4 in each. And basically, we want you guys to come to an agreement on where everything goes. If you want to just like slot them in and then we have like a final rearrangement, then obviously be my guest on how you want to do it. But I'll just drag them in wherever you say so, and we'll go from there. So if you want to start with one win and work along, or if you want to get the big names out of the way, however you want to do it, just go for it.
I think we should take the big names out of the way,
Yeah, sure.
so we don't have to think about them. So obviously, FaZe should.
Yep, they're at number 1. Yep,
Um,
makes sense.
I would say G2, they should as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Cloud9.
Should,
Cloud9,
definitely.
yeah, Cloud9 should as well. I don't know about Spirit and NIP. I think NIP is still kind of weird because they just changed the in-game leader. Spirits, it's a weird team as well.
Haven't played many
Yeah,
officials, have they?
I
No.
don't. What is the other team? Like the one second most to the left?
Astralis is the red name here.
Oh, Astralis. Yeah. I guess they should too.
I mean, what
Yeah,
is insane, I think, here is that there's 16 teams at the RMR, 8 qualify, and yet we're almost struggling to get a 4th team. Like, we have to even think about it. Because I think at previous RMRs, Ryan, we've just been sold. Like, 4 or
Yeah.
5 teams, they're absolutely going through. This RMR, especially for A, you've
Yeah.
almost got to, like, second guess yourself a little bit and actually think, is it really that they're going to go through?
I
Yeah.
would say so if it's B, it would be easy to say who's going in and who's not. But at A, there's so many teams, and it's so
Yeah.
it's in a weird place, Group A.
I feel like you could put Astralis in should, and then you could put everyone else in could. Almost.
Yeah,
You say
Like,
I
Astralis
guess-
should be in should?
yeah. I guess we should put them in instead.
You could
because-
put like B8 maybe, and Aurora in maybe unlikely, but and arguably us as too. But otherwise, I feel like everyone should be in could.
See, you're telling me here, maNkz, there is no team that's in the no chance category.
I don't feel like
Wow.
Really?
there is probably the B8, but
Ooh.
like B8 could.
Oh, he's
could
being
go down
too
there.
nice. Look at him. He's the smile.
I
He's
don't
Mr.
like
Nice
this.
Guy.
Yeah,
What,
yeah.
what do you think, Cabbi? Do you think B8 have absolutely zero chance of qualifying in 2 best of ones and 1 BO3?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, then I take it. I'll take it.
We
Then
go
put it
B8
down.
to no chance then, yeah?
Yeah,
But I
put
was
them down.
I was going in here to watch Aurora's results because I don't get why you want them on unlikely, but I guess they have made some okay results actually.
Yeah, Wrinkle on LAN could be very exciting to see what he's like, but these guys have no LAN experience at
No.
all.
No.
And knowing that they've got 2 new players of Amster and Alex, and their results online are pretty shaky right now, to me it was like firm no chance for B8.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. I didn't really see it happening. I gotta be honest.
Same.
What about Eternal Fire? Now I think I've put them down at the bottom. Ryan, I think you did as well.
Yeah,
Chiron
no
did
chance.
too.
No chance. Personally, for me, that's where I put Eternal Fire.
So there can only be 4 in each, right?
We can give a bit of leverage.
Yeah, like obviously we didn't want you to put everyone in could, because then obviously like that would defeat the
Yeah,
object.
I get that.
So if we can try and stick to 4 in each column, that's okay. But if you want to say like there's 6 teams in unlikely and 2 in no chance, then obviously that's like a balance that would allow.
But I would say Eternal Fire. There's either no chance or unlikely.
Yeah. The one thing they do have is obviously a proper IGL going into the RMR,
Yeah.
because I mean they had Emor calling, they had Woxic calling, they had Zantara's calling, but at the same time the Paz move, it's questionable. You know, was that the piece that they needed? Is it going to be enough? I mean, their results online haven't been all that impressive, and Major and Paz haven't played a pro level in CS for about 2 years now, so this is going to be a real test for them at the RMR.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking as well. And I actually saw them play today, but they won, I think.
Yeah, that's also why I'm a little bit. They won against
Yeah, they
Sprout
won
and
against. Yeah,
Force and almost against one win. So
they're playing
that-
against 1-1 right now, but that's a good result for them against Sprout and Force.
yeah.
So I guess they should go in. Actually, maybe they could go in could qualifier.
That changed really quick from no chance to
Yeah,
good.
but that's only because of Sprout.
Yeah, that's also why they should be in good, because I don't know, it feels like they just kind of 2-0 Force and Sprout, and if you're able, they 2-1 Sprout.
Yeah, but it's still a win. A win is a win.
You
Yeah,
think Eternal Firing could then?
I think. Yeah, I think they could. Also because it's 2 BO1s, and
Yeah,
I think that's good for them.
sure.
You seem to be talking Sprout up a little bit. They've obviously got new IGL, a couple of new players. Do you rate them quite highly going into the RMR?
We met them in the first qualifier for qualifying for the RMR in the very first, and they demolished us. We had no chance, and after that we were saying to each other they're gonna be really good, and yeah, I think they are.
and they dropped off. I think I'm a bit surprised of how much they have been underperforming recently.
Yeah, compared to back then, at
Yeah,
least.
I feel like we met them in the qualifier and they just, like they won against Mouse, Falcons, they destroyed us completely. Won against Entropic in the RMR qualifier, and then they went to lose against Sangel, Saw, Entropic, Eternal Fire.
Yeah,
Those
results
teams
aren't
are
great from
been
Yeah.
that
shaky.
point onwards.
They've been
Yeah.
shaky. Post
have been.
RMR, it was really interesting to see. I was watching a game of Elisa against Hotspurs, right? And actually, when you look at it, you think of Sprout, and the first thing you think of is the first event together in the RMR qualifiers, and they run through everyone. Like, they look
Exactly.
like they are going to be the best team. But actually, when you look at numbers and you look at stats post qualifier, like as you said, we've got losses to teams that they beat beforehand, and as well as that, they're losing to Saw, who, for example, we saw
Should
them
never
go
happen.
0-2 in ECL.
Yeah.
So if we're going to go on like a tier 2 basis and exclude Sprout from maybe the top 4 that you've put in should, like, you know, hindsight, sure, they did really well in the RMR, but actually looking at it now, they don't look to be the most consistent team.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
Entropic
also-
have been...
Oh.
Yeah, go on, maNkz.
I'm just after we lost against them and I saw them play, I was like, okay, they're gonna be so good if they keep performing like this and they keep playing like this. And now I've watched all of their other matches almost, and it's a completely different Sprout, a lot more structured, not playing that much off their individual feelings anymore, and which is not consistent, of course. So that's why I'm like not that much afraid of them anymore. And you can actually integrate them now.
Yeah, I think the loss to Sangol should never happen. And then obviously not even taking a map off Saw is a little bit eyebrow raising. And then Entropic, like, they've been really weak recently. You're losing to them. You're losing to a new Eternal Fire side. Like, obviously a lot of these teams are going to be in the RMR itself. But yeah, maybe Sprout not being the strongest, but maybe the LAN experience, especially for Refresh and Zyphon, might help out at this sort of level. Like, I know Slacks has played like a few of the Colognes because they keep getting like the German spot to that event. But Stare and Lawnix don't have a massive amount of LAN experience. So after all of that assessment, where are you thinking? Could, unlikely?
But I think Stare is one of the keys to success in them. And when he played, what was it, last Pro League or something? It was a big event at least. I remember he was still bombing away. So it's not like it's gonna affect him very much. Just because it's LAN, he's still gonna perform really well, and I think that's gonna be a key for them. So I would still take them in could, but I'm actually, if we're looking besides today, Eternal Fire, should they still be in could? I'm
No.
kind of going down to unlikely again.
Yeah, Eternal Fire should be unlikely in my
Let's
opinion.
bump them down. Yeah.
And you're
Yeah,
putting
and
Sprout
Sprout-
in could?
I think so at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, done. Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
think-
I've got a question for you. We talked about Bad News Eagles beforehand, right? And you saying they've been a bit off form. Do you think they're a team that could be making the RMR when they reach form again? Obviously, they're on boot camp right now, I think, just before the RMR qualifies. So do you think they're going to get back to their form and they could qualify? Or do you think it's unlikely for them?
I actually think it's unlikely. I don't
Yeah.
think they're gonna make the run again, and they've been looking really off after the player break, and they have to be on for the RMR.
Yeah,
So you're going to
I
go with
agree.
unlikely.
Yeah,
Bad News
I think
Eagles.
so.
Done.
Yeah.
I think they've got to have that flair about them this event, Ryan. You know,
Yes,
getting
yeah.
hyped, getting involved. Like that's the flair that got them there
In
last
the
time.
B&E zone. Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly,
so
exactly.
they bring that again, and I think that they could be dangerous. But
I agree.
they've got to bring that vibe that they had at the last RMR major, without a
Yep.
doubt.
I agree.
I think it's like the difference between last time and now is that there's an expectation, you know, like
Yeah.
That is
B&E the
true.
last
Yeah.
time-
Yeah.
B&E the last time it was like
Mm.
they were Blink like months ago, and then they had all like organizational trouble, and they were kind of like the fan favorite, right? Because you know you kind of feel for them a little bit, not having an org, whatever, and they make the big
But
run.
maybe they just have to be the underdog to perform.
Yes,
It
yeah,
is a
exactly
thing, you
that.
know.
Now that the bar is there for them, and everyone's going to
Yeah.
obviously expect them to make the
Yeah,
the
they're not
major
going to
like
be
they
the
did last
underdog
time,
anymore, are they?
Maybe
No.
that's the added pressure that, as you said, maybe cooks them and doesn't bring the same B&E we saw in the last major. I mean, I hope so. I enjoy watching them play Counter-Strike. They kind of remind me of like an EU Furia, right? Like very in your face,
Yeah,
very
agree.
very like shooting heads kind of Counter-Strike. So it'd be nice to see them play, because it's always those teams that rock the boat a little bit with the top dogs, right? And definitely can cause some issues. So yeah, it'll always be pretty nice to see them play. What do you guys think about Fnatic? Obviously, your teammate maNkz is now playing for them. Fasha's obviously over there.
Yeah.
What do we think about those guys? Do you reckon it's a could make the RMR or could make the major?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
think so.
definitely think that it's a good. They have really strong individuals. They have a good mix of experience on the team too. Crims, Roy, I would say he has experience, but he's also a little bit older and mature, so it's like he knows how to perform under pressure. And yeah, I think they are gonna do well.
Are you worried about their online results recently? I mean, they lost a best of 1 to LDLC, they lost a best of 3 to Sangul, and they dropped a map to SC. Like, it's not the cleanest of results coming out of Pro League.
I actually don't know what's holding them back right now. I think it's because they are like, I think it's coming from LAN environment, high pressure. They are underdogs. Now they are kind of favorites online again, those kind of things. But I do think they have the player material and experience to just perform on LAN when it matters the most.
Hmm.
Unfortunately
If you look
for
at
us.
their players, it's an insane team. You know, they have Fasha, Nico, Roy, Messi. Before he was insane as well, and now he's the IGL. So of course he's gonna drop down a little bit in performance, but he's still insane. You know.
Yeah.
And they had Crims. He's a fucking legend.
Yeah.
They have
I
an
think something's
insane
gone
team.
wrong if they're not qualifying to the
Yes,
major
yeah,
after this
100%.
RMR. I think that's what
Yeah.
has to be
Gotta
said
be.
with them.
Gotta be.
Yeah.
Talk about Forza as a difficult opponent in Tier 2, maNkz. You said they're the team that you're most scared of in ECL, or at least you would have been. So where do we put Forza in the grand scheme of things? Do you reckon they're another team that could make it?
Yeah, it was only between Group A and B I meant they were the most dangerous. But yeah, I do think they are in the good category, but again also a little bit in the unlikely, because I'm not sure. Like I feel like they could, but they always seem to disappoint me a little bit when it matters. Like the really most. So I don't know. I think they will. I think they could. In my opinion, they could qualify to the major, and it's
I
not
think it's-
very unlikely.
It's a bit of a learning experience at the last major, because I think Jerry even said it. They were like 2-0 up at the major, and then took it really easy. Thought that it was in the bag, that they're going to make it through to the next stage, and then they ended up going 2-3.
Yeah.
So it could be that, because these guys don't make roster changes. I mean, that was always the Forza mentality,
Yeah.
even when you had Flit in there and Exy Power and Almazer, all those guys. Like that lineup just never made changes.
Face crack.
Face crack too, yeah. So now looking at this 5, they've been together for a really long time. I think that out of the open qual teams, they're probably like one of the higher favorites
Yeah,
to make it
definitely.
through. Whether that actually translates in the results or not is another question. But yeah,
Yeah.
they're going to be one of the favorites.
I agree.
Yeah.
Alright.
Who have we got left, Ryan?
We'll go NIP next. Obviously, you said that there's been some
Ooh,
big
yeah.
structural changes there. I think Josh, we both put them in could, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
Where are you guys putting them? So realistically, we've got 1 win Gamer Legion, NIP, and Spirit left. I'm not going to force you to put 4 in each category, but your should and could are basically the top 8, the teams that make the major out of this, and you've still got NIP and Spirit left, and only 1 could spot. Where do you put NIP, or do you put Spirit in there instead, or are both of them in could?
I would maybe put, if I only could put one of them in, I would put Spirit in could. Just because I think the changes in NIP, I don't think it's enough time for them to really can build it up. Rest on the AWP, Hampus or Bolon
Rifler.
as the star player, and Alexi B in with his changes to the team. I think it's gonna be too much. So I would maybe even I would put them in unlikely actually, NIP, and then put Spirit in could.
I mean, the
Spirit have an insane team as well. And
Yeah, they haven't been playing that many events. I think they played Cologne and they played Pro League, and that's been it since Wonderful joined. I mean, the thing with NIP as well is not only is there a new AWP and a new IGL, but it's also the language barrier. You're going
true.
full English. What's that going to be like? You know, is the comms going to really be affected at this event? We just don't know, because this will be the debut event. Yeah, this may be like one of the weakest looking NIPs at like an RMR or minor or early stages of the major in a very long time. So pressure's going to be on for them to perform and to try and get out. But I don't think a lot of people have got a massive amount of faith in them this time.
But to be fair, the past very long time, I never had like much faith. They kept making roster changes, and they kept like doing so many questionable things, but somehow they kept doing well at events, and I have no clue how.
Yeah.
So maybe it's the same now, that they just bring in some random people like Linus and CTR and Device and Esitech and just random players. Maybe a little bit more surprising players, and then they just perform. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see.
All right, Ryan, last couple of teams.
Gamer Legion and 1 win are the last 2 that I've got for you here.
I know where Gamer Legion are going. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think know it.
If we need to put more teams in the more categories, they should probably go in no chance. But yeah. It's not true. It's not exactly true. They have a chance, but it's more likely than
everyone has a chance, you know. So
yeah, exactly. Put them down.
Yeah, no chance for both of them. Bang, like that. maNkz, happy?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, all right. Do you want to make one more move from unlikely to no chance, or are you happy with the 5 and the 3?
Yeah, put Aurora down. Go down. Get them down.
Yeah?
Really?
Yeah. They're like.
Okay.
They need more routine or whatever. Like, if 1 win is no chance, then Aurora is 2.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I like this. This is looking good. I think it's the first time right now, the 3 times we've done it already, that we've actually got 4 in each category.
Yeah, and we're in unlikely. And that's good.
You know what? It's humbling. You know, you got to be humble in these things. If you set the bar low and you make it, then you know, like you can, fuck the tier list kind of thing. And, you know, major in the major, who cares? You know, so there you have it. So FaZe, G2, Cloud9, Astralis in should, Sprout, Fnatic, Forza, Spirit in could, Ecstatic, Eternal Fire, BNE, NIP in unlikely, B8, Gamer Legion 1 win, Aurora no chance. Happy, gents?
Yeah,
let's
good.
go.
Done.
Yeah,
Nice.
there you go. Confident. I'm liking this. Yeah.
And now that'll go out on Twitter, and we can obviously we can
get some more flame for Ecstatic.
Yeah. All the betters. Yeah, no chance. You know. Only vested, of course.
When we go 0-3, we will be bullied.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's gonna
we
be
will.
clipped.
Some dude
clipped all
atting
the
you on
time,
Twitter,
yeah.
remember on Tier 2 Talk, you
Uh,
said, Gamer
Exactly.
Legion, no chance, have that,
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess we could talk roster changes, right, Josh? Obviously,
Yeah.
if you lads want to jump in and maybe give your verdict on a roster change or something like that, then obviously opinions are welcome. There's not an awful lot to talk about in roster changes.
Not a crazy amount.
At least a lot less than what we're used to in other episodes. I guess the first thing we can talk about, we kind of touched on it earlier on, right, is Xcade, now called Xcade, no longer part of the organization. Now, I've heard two stories to this. Obviously, I've seen the PR kind of, we are releasing our team, basically, is the PR response I've got. But I've also heard, and I've heard people say, that actually this team has disbanded. And it's not just that the 5 are leaving the org. So, obviously, I'm not going to bring in the discussion of, what happens if they disband, because we don't know yet. But either way, it doesn't sound like the org is happy with their performance. And probably the players know themselves, Skade having been a top 20 team at one point last year. Now we're, scraping the bottom of the barrel, and we're not even beating the teams that they would be blasting 2-0 in half an hour last year,
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's slightly concerning. I mean, the concerning factor, right, is the idea that you had Skade and Fiend, both top 20 teams in the world towards the end of last year. They merged together, and while there's been a couple of good events, like I think they won Pinnacle, where they were beating like Vitality and a couple of the tier 1 teams. They won an Alyssa event. They haven't quite been able to get that bridge to the next level, and in fact, now they're declining. So you wonder, is there like another Skade and Fiend not come together, but like a break apart, and then you start getting a couple of the pieces from the other Bulgarian teams, and you just work again, because Skade have always been known as a really high-end tier 2 team for years now.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I actually have no idea about their situation. I wish I could say something, but I have no idea what's gonna happen.
Do you reckon any of them could do decent on an EU team? Because I know in the past it's always been the Bulgarian AWPers that have got on to EU lineups, but there hasn't really been Bulgarian riflers that have sort of moved on to EU lineups. So do you reckon if it is, all right, let's pack it in, let's break it apart, is it just go back to a Bulgarian team again, or do you reckon any of them could do well in EU?
I think they're only gonna go Bulgarian. I have heard stories, and that's the only thing I can say. I've heard stories about some of the players on international team, but it wasn't great because the English wasn't the best. So it was really hard for them to tell how to do things, and if they had to micromanage something, they weren't able to, and that's just the hard reality sometimes. So it's fair enough, but I think they're gonna have to stay Bulgaria.
Okay. Well, that's another team that at least you guys won't have to beat at the higher end to, get the next event, get the playoff spot, whatever it may be. So we'll see what happens with that, Ryan. They're still participating in a couple of events, so we can get a bit of a gauge now they're on org. Do they just slapping teams left and right? Like, is it just that extra confidence boost to go and get signed? I mean, it's crazy to think that Skade is not even Bulgarian. I mean, they're like a Norwegian org.
I found that out like 1 week ago or something, when they actually parted ways, and I was so surprised. I thought it was Bulgarian.
I didn't know it as well.
Because everyone knows Skade as, Bulgarian, aren't they?
Yeah.
And then they're just not. They just picked up a Bulgarian team like 3 years ago. They've made some changes, and turns out they're a Norwegian org.
Yeah. I actually think I found out when they made the other team. That's not an academy
the Norwegian
team.
one.
Yeah.
So we've now got Xcade and Skade X.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, true, yeah.
Yeah.
Mate, can't wait for them to play in a game against each other. That's going to be...
Yeah.
Good job for Skade. Which one? No,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do. And as you said, I think I remember back actually to Repub League, Josh, and I think back to the events where winning teams are pressed to give interviews. I think only ever saw Bubble on an interview in my life.
I've spoken to some of the guys in person, and I know Dreamer does not speak much English at all. I know Bubble has got some decent English around him. As for some of the other guys, like I know Han and Red Star had pretty good English, and they're obviously
a lot of
on EU teams anyway.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we'll see what happens there.
I think now it's a little bit too late, but I could see a guy like Bubble on what is now too late, but one of like the Gamer Legion lineup. If they wanted to get some experience within the roster as the leader, because as you say, his English is pretty decent, and I think they like Bubble's rosters always like Fiend and now Skate had like little unique style, but a very good style. They had a lot of tactics and a lot of very different approach to the game, very contact heavy, very aim heavy, kind of explosive style, which we stole a lot from back in the when they were doing really good, at least. So I could see him on an international roster.
So he's done it before. I think he was in America with Victor when they were playing with Rogue. So we've at least seen times where he was playing with Smash too, which was like the godsend first iteration of it, I'm pretty sure. So we've at least seen him dibbling in and out of EU. Whether he's, you know, hangs it up and goes into like a coaching role might also be something that he's got to consider. You know, I think he's like 30 odd now, might have a couple more years behind him.
Yeah. It's
So
never too late. The Carrigans.
Yeah, very true.
Snappy even.
But yeah, a couple of new academy teams coming through, Ryan. Nexus and Sampi. So Sampi's like the Guardian team, and then obviously Nexus we know as the Romanians over there. Picking up new academy teams. Seems like more of a push is coming forward for these orgs to get second lineups, get third lineups even with some of the like youngsters rosters that we're starting to hear as well. The big one is probably Elian and Entropic. I mean, one thing that you could probably say the last couple of years is Elian is like the god of tier 2. One of the strongest AWPers that we've seen for quite a long time. Maybe that jump to sort of tier 1.5 when you start hanging with the big dogs is where he's been challenged the most. They've got Sensei in as a stand-in who is playing with like the Crazy, Akuma, Iron Branch sort of team. What do you think about Elian's chances of getting up on a lineup soon? Because we always know CIS AWPers are like insane, so it might be difficult for him to get a team.
I can say, like, I think Elian is one of the players that comes to my mind when you ask the question about who is most annoying to play against. Because he's like very, very skilled in clutches, and he has that kind of. I think he is a good mix between, let's say, Shiro and, let's say, Symbol or Monacy, who is. You have the guy who's like really like baity and always clutching and stuff like that, and they're really aggressive, going for multi-kill kind of Oba, and I think he's a pretty perfect balance between those two. So I think he's really skilled, and I don't know what happened since he dropped off that much. But I think if he wants to compete still, he has pretty good chances within the CIS region. But I don't know. I think contract links and buyouts and stuff like that is
tough, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know where that puts him.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if Forza don't do too well at the RMR, you know, does he slot into Forza and be that piece to get to the next level?
And maybe, but Sorty is really good too. So
yeah, I can't see him replacing Deco on one win. You probably don't want to join up with the Mega guys, considering they're not on good form right now. Aurora, depending on how they do you maybe try and slot in over there? You got a bit of experience on guys like Lackey and Railway. So yeah, it might take a little bit of time to find out. I mean, even for Sensei, I think this is a huge opportunity for him. And I think, do you know what was funny as well, Ryan? I saw that there was when that whole Akuma situation was going down, that Hooch was saying that like he was convinced that that Sensei and the team was cheating, but yet now they're going to be on the same team with one another. So I wonder if there's any like bad blood between that, or you know, maybe you just brush past it and just focus on the next journey ahead.
Well, I mean,
I think they're professional enough to just say.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I was gonna say like, and like the fact that all of the teams in that RMR, right? Because it was the Star Ladder RMR, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. Yeah.
And like all of the teams signed a document saying like they want an investigation. It was like every other team had signed the document. I don't think like. You have to look into it, and the fact that nothing's come about it, I think Cabby's right. You go, do you know what? Like, nothing conclusive was found. You probably just had a good run. It didn't mean much anyway because you didn't make the major. Why does it matter now? Let's just move on. Let's just get on with our games. And it will be nice for Sensei for a new opportunity, and then maybe for Entropic, it's the change that they need to push themselves to the next level. Obviously,
you
it's on
say that,
trial run.
Ryan. They just got Mir. Like, that was also another thing that I was thinking about it, is that
Yeah, it has been
they had that
disappointing.
core for a very long time when they were like, what was it, EPG Family, Windstrike, over to Entropic. That 5 had been together for like a year. You bring in Mir, and there's another change within a month. Like, I don't know if that's something that needs to be discussed as well, is that you just bring in a new rifler. Mir maybe hasn't been able to find that consistency that we expect from him, knowing the tier 1 experience he has on Spirit. And now there's another change. Like, I would have maybe liked to have seen at least a few more months with this team. I mean, they didn't make the RMR, so maybe that was like the go of, we didn't make the RMR, we absolutely should have. That's when we need a change.
Maybe it's not the results that made it happen. Maybe it's something within the team, or Sensei just got an opportunity from the org saying, we want to sell you, you're playing great right now. It can be a lot of things. It doesn't have to be results or Alien's performance, even though it has gone down a bit the last, I don't know, couple of months, I guess. So yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking about it.
Well, at least the news with Gamer Legion is a little bit more official now, and everyone knows what's happening. Kios, obviously, from Falcons coming over, and then Acor and Shui joining the lineup. I think a lot of people were a bit skeptical because you still had Shui playing for Mao's NXT, but yet they're playing in the qual. Are they subbing players in and out? Is this going to be the lineup for the RMR? Now it's all done pen to paper that they are joining Gamer Legion. The obviously concern going into the RMR is this is a very fresh looking lineup. What do you think about like the ability? Are they a top end tier 2 contender with this sort of team?
I actually don't know. Like, I think it depends so much on everything, because I think these are the teams that usually maybe will make a good a run as a team, because to me there's no one standing out of that team that makes me think that they are gonna do well, and maybe that's why they're gonna do. I don't know, because if I look at him, yeah, he's a pretty good rifler. Not needs a little bit of experience probably, but yeah, pretty good rifler. And then you have Isaac, decent anchor. Acor, really bad recently, like on mouse boards. You don't know where you have that guy. Is he good anymore? Is he bad? And then you have Sui on mouse NXT. Again, they did okay, but it was primarily in the Replay Academy League and okay outside. But and then Kios, like, you don't have anyone standing out to me, but maybe they will do good. I don't know.
Yeah. That is a legitimate concern. Maybe IM takes a little bit more of those like star roles and they push him into one of the strongest riflers on this team. I mean, Ash, the coach, has been around these guys, at least IM and Isaac, for quite a while. So you've got to hope that his coaching role is going to be able to impress. But even for Acor, like if he can get to the level that he was on Mad Lions and Existence, then that's a very exciting player. It's just
exactly.
Are we going to get the Acor that was playing on mouse sports? That's what we're sort of weighing up here. We don't know what Acor we get, and perhaps the RMR will be the first proper opportunity to see what he's going to be like.
I mean,
so. Yeah.
He is 1.29 rating the past 3 months in like 14 maps. So
yeah, not many.
It's still a better sign than he came out of mouse sports with an average rating of 103 as an over. So, I mean, maybe he will do good. I think he needs this to reignite himself as a player, find himself as a player again.
I think.
Well, also you don't know if it's just a honeymoon, because they're a brand new team, like 3 of them, and brand new core, so it can easily be a honeymoon.
Yeah, this is going to be the point that I was bringing up, is that I think back to the B&E run last major, they never did amazingly well in a particular group stage, right? Like they just scraped it, making it to the major, and I think they went like 3-2 in the challenger stage. And I just think to the individuals of Gamer Legion, maybe if you actually like compare them to that of B&E, I would actually put Gamer Legion slightly above at times. I know it's a bit of a curveball, but again, like you think that B&E only qualified 3-2 from the challenger stage. why can't Gamer Legion do the same? Why can't they push for a chance and as you said, like pull off an upset? And as you guys highlighted earlier on when we did the tier list, realistically, most of your games are BO1s. If you get it done quick, they're a team that could definitely take a BO1 off of some of the better teams we have in this RMR. So, you know, I think realistic result is they don't do well in the major, and they're not gonna hurt mentally about it because it's a new team, you know, and they haven't been practicing for very long. And the Counter-Strike that they're going to apply in their games, I mean, there's only so much Counter-Strike you can play between now and the major, and even if you dedicate every second of your time to trying to go for the major, like there's only so much you can do. And so for them, I think as long as they set the bar low and they don't like humble themselves if they don't make the major.
Definitely.
Like this team definitely can shoot back. And I mean, you look to maybe the old Gamer Legion team. I don't want to throw any shade towards them, but the fact that they even made top 30 in the first place kind of surprised me. And considering that team had stuck together or at least the core stuck together for an incredibly long time, and then out of nowhere we just started seeing them get results. Like, there's proof that they can do it. I think now it just lies within the players actually doing it themselves. And post major, maybe we look at something different, and maybe that's where the grind comes in. The tier 2 online stuff, they can get going again.
Well, for IEM and Isaac, they've been here before. They were at the last RMR where they went 0-3. So I'm sure they're looking to make it a little bit better. I mean, for you guys, like, we talk about the goal is just being at the RMR. I would say for a team like Gamer Legion, getting a win is probably a goal. Brand new lineup. You've been here before. You don't want to go 0-3 again. Just get at least some close maps up on the board. Get away with at least a series victory here or there, and try and see what happens. Talking about fresh starts as well, Ryan. EG bringing maNkz back into a coaching position, a strategic coach now. There's more pieces moving over there. We saw two of the EG lineups at Frag. The main one obviously wasn't there. maNkz going in. Does this excite you at all, Ryan?
Yes, mate. Really, really does excite me. Just no. I mean, like, maNkz is, you've got to respect him no matter your opinion on the pickup, right? Because he's been around for a little while. He does his job. Like, we know he's capable, right? But to me, I don't know, like, as a strategic coach,
he's been there before. What does this mean? They get rid of him and then he comes back.
Like, he was picked up in late 2021. He lasts till May, so they give him 5 months. They go, nah, you're gone. Obviously before that he was at G2. G2 held on to him for 3 years. So at least he's like a long-standing coach at G2. But now he's at EG as a strategic coach. Well, I don't know. Like, I don't want to flame at all to EG. I think I already have in kind of my reaction to all of this. But like, if Vorborg's kind of coaching the main team, and you've got Axe who's coaching the
RBG team, isn't it?
Yes, and then it's Wenster coaching the PA team.
Party Astronauts, yeah.
So where does maNkz fit in all of this? Is he does he hop between the three? Like, is he tuning in onto main prac on Monday, and then he's doing like mental prac with the boys on Tuesday for the C team? Like, to me, it's just like, we've got 4 coaches for 3 teams. Like, what's the point? What is the point for maNkz to jump in here? And if I'm honest, for EG, this is a stupid spend of money for no reason. And for maNkz, I don't think he deserves to be the coach that isn't given a team. Like, to me, that's very not disrespectful. It's not like he's going to take it personally, but you've got so much knowledge. He's been coaching in Counter-Strike as a whole since 2005, right? And he's been in Counter-Strike for basically like nearly 2 decades now, right? And he's a strategic coach for EG across 3 teams. Like, surely there is a team out there that want him a little more than, fuck it, we'll just put him with EG and he can do whatever he wants. Like, I don't know what is the plan with him. Like, to me,
maybe some more clarity would help, because just knowing that he's a strategic coach doesn't give us an inclination of, like, is he the coach of this team or that team, or
and
all 3.
He's not an analyst. Like, he's not listed as an analyst. And to me, a strategic coach, if you're working on strategy, like, surely there's like blurred lines between the 3 teams, and then like, how do you go from spending time with Breeze, Cirque, Automatic, Hex, and Nilan, and then the next day maybe you're with Pone Alone and Ben Lee, you know? Like, don't want to make it sound like a downgrade, but you've got to understand, like, I don't know, would any other team in the world want a strategic coach that hops between teams? No, you wouldn't.
I think they might be trying to take something out of other sports to,
maybe,
I don't know, just to take it to higher levels or something. And also, I don't think they care about the money because they have so much of it.
Well, yeah,
So
that's
they
it's a
don't give
valid
a fuck
point.
about it.
Nah,
And
no, agreed.
I just think they'll try to do everything. Doesn't matter the cost to be a better team. Not even being the best team, but just to be a better team.
That's fair. And maybe if I think about that as a whole, Vorborg as a coach, that was a bit interesting, right? Because he was only the manager of Copenhagen Flames beforehand, right? Like, I don't think he has much coaching experience. So is this now where Malik and Vorborg are gonna like double team with the A team? You know, the main EG side. I don't know.
A lot of questions.
He was listed as a coach for Copenhagen Flames for a bit as well, but
if I can take
go on, jump in.
my personal take on this, I think Volvo is really well at pushing his players and understanding like how to build talent and how to make people what do you call evolve as a player.
Do you mean like motivated? Is that what you mean?
He has a lot of tools. He's been teaching me all of the things I'm trying to teach most of the guys right now. When I was initially in Copenhagen Flames, or like the 2 times I was there, with sleeping, eating, mental preparation,
so like
every
mental
mental statement, all of those kind of things, like hyping, from how your tone is in your voice when you're saying certain things, and all of those things. So I think he's a really good addition to any organization, but But he is not strong strategically. He doesn't really understand the game to a deep level, and I think that's where Malik probably comes in. Primarily on the main team, I believe. Yeah. So he can add a lot of tactical understanding, and Vorbo can feed off that and at some point understand it a bit more. And that's, I think, their plan for the whole project, but I'm not sure. But I could see that being a thing because
it makes the most sense.
Yeah, but Wobo doesn't have like full or general understanding of Counter-Strike on a deep level, strategic level, but he did have on the old Flames lineup, I believe, because he was practicing with them for so long. But now it's a new team, new players, new play style, and everything like that. So he cannot just fit in like this and contribute strategically as much as he wants. I think that's why.
All right, well, we'll see what they're like at the RMR. They obviously qualified, so an opportunity for them to make the major once again, Ryan. But yeah, lot happening, and I think a lot is obviously building up to the RMR. You've got the 2 European ones, you've got the Americas, you've got the Asia, so a lot of teams maybe trying to chop and change ever so slightly to just strengthen as much of those lineups as possible getting into it.
Sure. Anything else we want to add for the roster changes, or are we happy, Dennis?
That's it, yeah.
Nice. Good 2-hour chat, lads, about Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
Back up tomorrow to play it. So, yeah, no worries. Thank you guys so much for joining us, by the way. Obviously, it's Cabbi and maNkz from Ecstatic. Josh, thanks very much for joining us again. Thank you to everyone at home for joining us. Until next time, have a great evening. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
See you.